Hi. Well, today is July 17th and it is surprise day. I told you a couple weeks ago that I would have a surprise for you, and so this is it. I'm actually here in California with my daughter Heather, and if you haven't met her yet, I thought it'd be great to get her on camera and let her talk a little bit and help you get to
We'll
know
see
her
if
a
I can
little bit.
actually talk on the camera. I told Dad I'm not used to verbally processing what I'm thinking. I'm used to writing, so I don't know if this is going to work or not, but
Well, we'll give it a try. Anyway, we've been out here a few days now, and if you read the post from a couple days ago when I did it, I actually did that from my office last week because I knew I would be traveling. But we're out here now enjoying a visit, and we've had some great days so far. We've gone hiking. We've also kind of done some just sightseeing, walking through town down in Hermosa Beach. Yesterday, if you can't tell from my face, we did spend a good portion of the day at the beach, and as I always do, I am totally burnt. But it was well worth it. It was a great day. And today again, we're having another good day here, but we thought we'd go ahead and try posting a blog together using video, and hopefully if this goes well, we'll do the same thing tomorrow. So if you're okay with that, Heather,
we'll see.
we'll give it a whirl. Anyway, here we are, and it's now we are at July 17th, and we're in the midst of Isaiah, and we're into that time where Isaiah is going back and forth between judgment and praise. He's kind of, as is his wont, to go back and forth and lead you in and out of it, and kind of relates well to what God is doing here. So in sharing that, I would bring to you kind of some thoughts about the judgment part, but maybe we'd like to spend a little more time on God's plan and maybe see if we can find something cheery in that. I was thinking about yesterday at the beach, the sand castles that these boys were making. Actually, they were digging very deep. I'm not sure if they were sand castles or not, but it reminded me of how we construct something, whether it's a sand castle or a house of cards or a Legos building, and we put so much effort into it, and then at the end, it all just gets wiped out. And I was thinking that's kind of what Isaiah is giving us a picture of what God's going to do here. He's come to the point where judgment will be a day where no matter what we have done, no matter how good or bad we have executed things, no matter what we have built, God's going to come in and clean the slate, wipe it clean, get rid of it, and He's going to start all over, and He's going to create things the way He intended them. And so that's what we're going to look at today. What is it God is going to create? And there's really no choice in this. You know, God doesn't really give us a choice here. He just says it's coming. It's kind of like that old story about the battleship, if you've ever heard that one, in the fog, and how it sees this faint light. One of the crewmen off in the distance sees it and starts announcing that I am a battleship, get out of the way, because they don't want to have a collision with another ship. Well, they say that several times and they don't hear a response, and finally they say, I'm a battleship, get out of the way. And all of a sudden, from the faint light, they hear the response, I am a lighthouse, get out of the way. And the truth is, God says judgment is coming, and there is no getting out of the way. It will happen. And so what will it look like when God cleans the slate and starts over? And I was thinking of just a couple of things that came to mind as I was looking through some of the verses. And I just jotted them down. I think they're in chapter 25. Real quick, when God finishes and recreates everything in the New Jerusalem the way He intends, everyone will worship Him, all nations. That's first. And that's verses 1 through 3 and 25. Verses 4 and 5 talk about the fact the poor will find refuge. And verse 6, all people will be invited to that banquet table. Verses 7 and 8 speak about the fact that all suffering will end. Verse 9 talks about everyone will sing to the Lord and sing a song of trust in Him. And finally, in verses 10 through 12, all the adversaries will be frustrated and will be taken care of and gotten rid of. And so that's a picture of what it will be one day. And in the midst of that, we keep trying. And it's interesting because we keep trying to do that. in our own lives. And if you look through history, sometimes we do a better job than others. Sometimes there seems to be relative peace and people are taken care of. And yet at other times there's war and there's poverty and there's struggle and trial. And that's just been human experience down through history. And it really relates to our sin. And so God gives us a picture here through Isaiah of when it happens, when that judgment happens, this is what I will create. And it will be exactly what I want it to be. And it will be something that we of ourselves cannot do. And so those are some thoughts today as we look at this. I don't know how you experienced this, Heather, but you might want to give us a little feel for what struck you as you looked at these verses.
Well, two things. Playing off of what Dad just talked about, I chose to zone in on the happy thoughts. Amidst the destruction, a couple of the images that really jumped out at me. One was 25:6, where it talks about a wonderful feast. And I couldn't help but think of birthday dinners around our table now. When my husband and I got married, we got a big red plate. And it's bright red, and it says "You are special" around it, and that's what you get to use on your birthday dinner. And you get to choose what you want to eat, not just for dinner, but also for dessert. And birthday dinners usually have friends and extra family members involved, and you feel special. And so when it talked about God's wonderful feast that is part of His plan that Dad was talking about, when all is said and done, and when the sandcastles have been rebuilt, what will that look like? Well, it'll look like we're sitting at a table that's meant just for us. God has chosen us, and we are special to Him every single day.
And we all get a red plate.
We all get a red plate, and not just on our birthday. It will be forever. So that image stuck out at me. The other one was in 26 verse 3. Talks about God's perfect peace. And I was struck by the fact that it didn't just say God's peace, but His perfect peace. And this idea that the peace we look for, it is not perfect. We look for snippets of peace here and there, things to get us through the day, and they're very temporary. And God's peace is perfect. It's eternal. And that particular adjective really jumped out at me, and I thought about, I can't even fathom what a perfect peace is. Peace for me might be a quiet afternoon here or there, or a breakthrough in a certain relationship that's been struggling, but those are brief, they're snippets, and God's perfect peace is perfect forever. So yeah, those are the two things amidst kind of the doomsday destruction. That jumped out at me. The other thing, just briefly, Dad and I talked about a little bit, was the meaning of Ariel, which comes about in 29. Just kind of weird. Actually, it made me think of, what's the cartoon?
Little Mermaid?
Little Mermaid. Yeah. But anyways, Ariel meaning hearth of God, and how that is another name for Jerusalem. Mm-hmm. But also, it could be another name for us. Are we hearths of God? What does that look like?
Yeah, it really relates to in chapter 29 the idea that watch out Jerusalem, because the prophets are blind. They're not able to understand the word, the mystery of God's word. They're teaching things that are false. And it relates to Luke chapter 6 verse 39, where I found the verse that said, where Jesus says the blind, leading the blind, will end up with both of them finding their way into the ditch. And so chapter 29 really is Isaiah addressing the leaders of Jerusalem who are leading the people astray. And so those are just some thoughts today. And ultimately for us, what we look to and point to is the fact that we'll trust in the wisdom of God, and that wisdom for us is found in Jesus Christ. And we celebrate that today. And I hope you'll enjoy the reading today. We'll come back and continue this again tomorrow. One of the things that I I would suggest is think about what it will be like that day when you're sitting at that table with your red plate. That's what God desires for you, and that's what awaits us when God's judgment does come. So while it is judgment, while it can be terrible for us as believers, it is a time to sing a song of praise at all His good works. And so it's great to be here with you today, Heather, and we're going to enjoy some more sunshine, and we'll be back with you again tomorrow. God's blessings to you.